Hello, church family. It's 2 Minute Tuesday. If you're anything like me, you may have noticed lately that your emotions are close to the surface. You're irritable with the people that you live with, you're impatient with other drivers or checkout lines or servers. Situations that normally wouldn't bother you at all are getting under your skin. What's going on? Chances are you are grieving. Grief is our natural emotional response to major change. Grief is sometimes hard to identify because it doesn't always come out as sadness, and it's not always a reaction to significant loss. Grief comes out as a whole range of different emotions, but what characterizes grief is this emotional sensitivity or volatility. So if right now you're sensing that you are emotionally reactive, you're probably grieving. After all, we've all been through major change lately and we're anticipating further changes. The reason it's important for us to identify our grief is because grief can't go away on its own. When we deny our grief, typically one of two things happens. Either we let it out in ways that do damage to the people around us, or we keep it in ways that do damage to ourselves. What's the alternative? The alternative is to grieve intentionally, to treat grief as an activity. And as we talked about in Sunday's sermon, we can do this in ways that are healthy and even God-honoring. Healthy grief consists of three things. The first is expressing emotion honestly. We need to give ourselves permission to identify and articulate what we're feeling. Give ourselves permission to say, I'm sad about the ways that life has changed. I'm angry over the things that I've lost. I'm anxious about the future. The second is to assign blame properly. Typically, when we are hurting, we look for another person to blame. As Christians, we believe in a God whose hand is at work in all things. So God actually invites us, in the context of a relationship with Him, to hold Him responsible for the events of our past. When we're able to do this, when we're able to look back and recognize God's hand at work in our past, then we're able to look forward and trust God with our futures. Third and finally, we pursue our relationship with God persistently. God again and again invites us to come to Him with everything that's on our hearts, and He actually gives us two mechanisms for processing our pain in our relationship with Him. The first is the Psalms, the Old Testament Psalms. These are prayers that put to words the whole range of human emotion. In the Psalms, we're given the gift of God's words to pray our feelings back to God. The other gift that God gives us is His Holy Spirit, who actually reaches to the depths of our hearts. He takes our wordless emotions, He translates these into prayers, and carries them to the heart of our Father in heaven. So the challenge is not to deny our feelings or to be stuck in them, but to actually process them in the context of our relationship with God. When we deal with the God whose hand is at work in all the events of our past and our present, then we're truly able to fully trust God with our future.